The cold was the first thing Ethan Wright felt. It seeped into his bones like an old friend that had never left. His eyes opened slowly, fighting against a deep sleep that seemed to have lasted forever. A dim blue light pulsed above him. He was in some kind of pod, its clear cover sliding away with a tired hiss. Ethan tried to move. His arms and legs felt heavy, strange. His throat was dry when he tried to speak. Only a raspy sound came out. Systems online. Stasis exit procedure complete. Good morning, Commander Wright, said a flat female voice from somewhere in the room. Ethan pushed himself up to sitting position. The small room spun around him. Metal walls, once shiny, were now dull and covered in a thin layer of dust. Roots from some strange plant had broken through one corner of the ceiling. "Where am I?" he managed to ask, his voice still rough. "You are in Emergency Bunker Delta 7, Nova Terra Colony," the voice answered. "I am AI Day, Artificial Intelligence Defense Assistant. My systems are operating at 43% capacity." Nova Terra. The word sparked a memory in Ethan's foggy mind. The distant colony world. Humanity's backup plan. He had been stationed here during the final days of the Solar War, when Earth's defenses were failing. "How long?" Ethan asked, dreading the answer. There was a pause before Ida replied. "You have been in emergency stasis for 50,247 Earth Standard Years, Commander." The number hit Ethan like a physical blow. Over 50,000 years. Everyone he had ever known was dust. The war, Earth, the solar system. All of it was ancient history now. "That's not possible," he whispered, though he knew the ad wouldn't lie about something so basic. "The stasis system was designed for long-term preservation, Commander. When the evacuation order came, the automated systems placed you in deep stasis. My records indicate that the evacuation was incomplete when communications with Earth ceased." Ethan swung his legs over the edge of the stasis pod. His muscles screamed in protest despite the medical systems that had prevented atrophy. The room's lighting increased slightly as he moved, revealing more of the bunker. What had once been a state-of-the-art military facility was now ancient, parts of it crumbling away. "Are there any other survivors?" he asked. "Negative, Commander. You are the only human life form detected on Nova Terra." The loneliness of that statement washed over him. An entire planet, and he was the only human. The last survivor of a long-dead war. However, IDA continued, Subsection 42, the Android Storage Facility, has begun automatic reactivation protocols in response to your life signs. Ethan looked up sharply. Android storage. How many units are we talking about? The facility contains 10,000 military-grade Android units. Models include combat, reconnaissance, medical, engineering, and tactical support variants. Current reactivation progress is at 12% and increasing. A spark of hope flickered in Ethan's chest. He wasn't completely alone after all. The androids had been humanity's last great creation before the war turned desperate. Nearly human in their adaptive intelligence, loyal and built to last for centuries. He had never imagined they could survive 50 millennia. Ethan stood up slowly, his body gradually remembering how to move. "Show me the androids," he ordered. The far wall of the room slid open, revealing a vast chamber below. Rows upon rows of humanoid figures stood in charging stations, their metal bodies gleaming even in the dim light. As he watched, the eyes of the nearest android flickered to life, glowing a soft blue. It turned its head, looking directly at Ethan. "Commander Wright," it said in a clear voice. "Unit 1 awaiting orders." Ethan Wright, lost for 50,000 years, finally allowed himself a small smile. He wasn't just a survivor anymore. He was a commander with an army. And whatever this new world had become, he would face it with the last remnants of human military might at his side. Ethan stepped outside the bunker for the first time, 5 scout androids moving in formation around him. The brightness of 2 suns in the sky made him shield his eyes. When his vision cleared, he saw a world both familiar and alien. Purple plants covered the rolling hills. Trees with spiral trunks reached toward the sky. In the distance, mountains with sharp peaks cut into the horizon. The air smelled sweet and fresh, with hints of something like cinnamon. "Atmosphere analysis complete," said Unit 1, the lead android who Ethan had started calling Scout. "Oxygen levels at 26%, slightly higher than Earth standard but safe for human breathing. No detected toxins or pathogens." Ethan nodded. At least he wouldn't die from simply breathing the air. He checked the simple map AI Day had provided on his wrist device. The bunker had been built near what was once a major human settlement. The remains should be just over the next ridge. "Let's move," he ordered. "Stay alert." They walked for an hour through fields of knee-high purple grass. Occasionally, small creatures darted away at their approach, six-legged things that looked like a cross between rabbits and lizards. The landscape was beautiful in its strangeness. When they reached the top of the ridge, Ethan stopped and stared. Below lay the ruins of what had once been a city. Most buildings had crumbled to nothing, but a few metal and stone structures still stood, now wrapped in vines and roots. Nature had reclaimed the human settlement long ago. "Scout, take 2 units and scan the perimeter," Ethan ordered. "Check for any signs of technology that might still work." As the androids moved down toward the ruins, Ethan sat on a rock and tried to process everything. His world, his entire civilization, was gone. Whatever had happened after the Solar War, humanity had either perished or abandoned this far colony. The thought made his chest tight. A sudden beep from his wrist device pulled him from his thoughts. Scout was sending data. The android had found something interesting in the ruins. Signs of much newer structures built among the old ones. These weren't human designs. Ethan stood quickly. "Scout, report. Are these structures recent?" "Affirmative, Commander," came the reply. "Evidence suggests non-human settlement activity within the past 100 years. These ruins have been inhabited and modified." Before Ethan could respond, another android sent an alert. Something was approaching from the east, a flying craft moving slowly along the valley. "All units, take cover," Ethan ordered, ducking behind a large rock. From his hiding spot, Ethan watched as a sleek silver vehicle passed overhead. Its design was nothing like human technology, more curved, almost organic in shape. Through his binoculars, he caught a glimpse of figures inside. They weren't human. The craft didn't seem to notice them and continued toward a range of distant hills. When it disappeared from view, Ethan exhaled slowly. "Units 3 and 4, follow that craft at a safe distance. Record everything, but do not engage. Return to the bunker in 6 hours." "Yes, Commander," the androids replied before moving out with silent efficiency. Ethan turned to Scout. "We need to return to the bunker. I want to see what's in the historical archives about this planet." Back at the facility, Ethan sat before the main terminal while AI Day accessed old files. The screen flickered with fragments of data, colony reports, military logs, evacuation orders. Nova Terra was humanity's furthest outpost. Idea had explained. Population approximately 3 million when the Solar War reached its final phase. Records indicate a partial evacuation was ordered. "What happened to the people who stayed?" Ethan asked. "Unknown. Records end abruptly 49,782 years ago. Final entries mention the Great Migration, but provide no details on destination." Ethan leaned back in his chair. So humanity had left, not died out. But where had they gone? And who were the new inhabitants of this world? As if answering his unspoken question, the reconnaissance android's first images of the alien craft appeared on screen. Inside were blue-skinned beings with 4 arms and large, expressive eyes. Nova Terra had new owners now. A week passed. Ethan spent most of his time studying the data his androids collected. He learned the daily patterns of the blue-skinned aliens, who seemed to live in small villages scattered across the valley. The androids recorded them hunting, farming strange crops, and gathering in circles at sunset to sing. Ethan sat in the command room, watching new footage when alarms suddenly blared. Warning, I-Day announced. Perimeter breach. Unit 12's patrol has encountered local life forms. Show me, Ethan ordered. The screen changed to live feed from one of the scout androids. A group of the blue aliens had stumbled upon the patrol. 4 tall beings stood frozen, staring at the androids with wide, silver eyes. They carried simple spears but hadn't raised them. Their blue skin had patterns of lighter blue swirls. Each alien had 4 arms and wore clothing made from woven plant fibers. Tell the units not to engage, Ethan said quickly. Stay in defensive posture only. One of the aliens stepped forward. It made sounds, clicks and soft whistles, mixed with deeper tones. The android recorded everything but couldn't translate. Commander, Ida said, the encounter location is only 3 miles from the bunker. Do you wish to observe personally? Ethan thought for a moment. This meeting would happen eventually. Better to control when and how. Prepare my gear, he said, and activate 4 more combat units as escort. 30 minutes later, Ethan approached the scene. The aliens and androids remained in the same standoff. When the aliens saw Ethan, their reaction was immediate and surprising. All 4 dropped to their knees, pressing their foreheads to the ground. They made soft humming sounds that seemed almost like singing. Ethan stopped, confused. Ida, any idea what's happening? Insufficient data for conclusion, but behavior suggests reverence or worship, the AI replied through his earpiece. Ethan slowly raised his hands to show he carried no weapons. Hello, he said simply. The aliens looked up. The tallest one, with deep blue skin and silver markings around its eyes, stood and approached Ethan. It studied him with wonder, then pointed to itself. Varine, it said clearly. Ethan understood. Varine, that's what you call yourselves. The alien nodded, then pointed at the androids with all 4 arms. It made a series of gestures, pointing to the sky, then to Ethan, then making a sleeping motion. I think they recognize what humans are, Ethan said quietly. But how is that possible after 50,000 years? The Varian leader gestured for Ethan to follow. After a moment's hesitation, he agreed, ordering his androids to maintain a protective formation. They walked for an hour to a small village of dome-shaped huts. The other Varian emerged and stared at Ethan in awe. Some reached out to touch him gently, then pulled back as if touching something sacred. The leader took Ethan to a cave at the edge of the village. Inside, the walls were covered with paintings illuminated by glowing fungi. The images made Ethan's heart race. The paintings showed humans commanding machines that looked like crude versions of his androids. The humans in the pictures were drawn larger than the Varine, with rays of light around their heads like gods. An elderly Varine approached with a small wooden box. Inside was a metal object, a human military badge, preserved for thousands of years. The symbol on it matched the one on Ethan's stasis pod. The elder pointed to the badge, then to Ethan, then to the sky. It made a motion like something falling, then rising again. They have legends about us, Ethan whispered. They've been waiting for humans to return. The elder took Ethan's hand and placed it on the wall painting of a human leading an army of machines. Then the Varine elder knelt, followed by every alien in the cave. Ethan Wright, the last human on Nova Terra, suddenly understood. They didn't see him as a visitor or even an ally. They saw him as a god who had returned with his army of metal warriors, just as their legends had promised. Ethan spent the next 2 weeks living between the bunker and the Varian village. The androids created a translation program that grew better each day. By analyzing the Varian language patterns, they built a simple way for Ethan to communicate with the aliens. The great metal ones serve the Skyborn, said Mala, the village elder, pointing to the androids, just as our stories tell. Ethan sat cross-legged on a woven mat in Mala's hut. A young female Varine named Kira sat nearby, learning human words faster than any other of her kind. "We are not gods," Ethan explained again. "Humans were just people who once lived on this world. We called it Nova Terra." Kira tilted her head. "But you command the metal warriors. You sleep for many lifetimes and wake unchanged. How is this not godlike?" Ethan sighed. Explaining advanced technology to a people who used stone tools was challenging, but the Varine were smart and eager to learn. "Tell me more about the others," Ethan said. "The ones you fear." Mala and Kira exchanged worried looks. Finally, Mala spoke. "The Krell came to our world when my grandfather was a child. They have ships that fly between stars. They took our best hunting grounds and richest mines. Those who fought back were killed." Kira added, "They make us dig in the mountains for shining stones. They take our food. If we do not obey, they burn our villages." Ethan frowned. Classic colonization and exploitation. Some things never change, even across species. "How many Krell are there?" he asked. "Many thousands," Mala said. "They have cities of metal in the north. Their warriors have weapons that burn and ships that fly." Ethan wasn't eager to start another war. The memories of the Solar War still haunted him. Billions dead, planets rendered uninhabitable. But he couldn't ignore the suffering of these people either. "I need to think about this," he told them. "I can't promise." A young Varine burst into the hut, eyes wide with fear. "Krell ships, coming from the east." Ethan jumped to his feet and ran outside. 3 sleek aircrafts approached the village, their engines whining. Unlike the simple scout ship he had seen before, these were clearly armed. "All units, defensive positions," Ethan commanded into his communicator. The 6 androids with him immediately moved to protect the villagers. The Varine scattered, grabbing children and running for the forest. Ethan watched as the lead ship landed in the village center. The door slid open, and 5 tall, reptilian beings stepped out. They wore sleek armor and carried energy weapons. The tallest Krell, with red scales and yellow eyes, surveyed the village with disgust. It barked orders, and the others began checking huts. "They search for the monthly tribute of minerals," Kira whispered, hiding behind Ethan. "We could not meet their demands this time." The mine collapsed, killing many of our people. The Krell leader spotted Ethan and the androids. It froze, then raised its weapon. "Unknown entities," it said in surprisingly good Varine language. "Identify yourselves." Ethan stepped forward. "My name is Commander Ethan Wright. I represent the former human colony of Nova Terra." The Krell's yellow eyes widened. "Impossible. Humans are extinct in this sector. They are myths used to inspire rebellion among our subjects." "I assure you, I am quite real," Ethan replied. The Krell leader hissed something to its soldiers. They raised their weapons. "Seize the human and destroy those machines," it ordered. The first Krell fired at one of the androids. The energy blast bounced off its reinforced chest plate. The android responded instantly, firing a precise shot that knocked the weapon from the Krell's hand without harming it. The Krell soldiers stopped, suddenly uncertain. "I suggest we talk," Ethan said calmly. "I have 10,000 more units like this one. I'd rather not use them for war." The Krell leader's face showed a mix of shock and fury. Its next words chilled Ethan's blood. "The Krell Empire does not negotiate with primitive species or their pets. You have just declared war, human." After the Krell left with angry threats, Ethan knew he needed to learn more about this world. Kira, the young Varine who learned human words quickly, offered to help. "There are old places we do not go," she told him. "Places where metal birds once landed. The Krell forbid us from entering these ruins." Ethan's interest grew. "Can you show me these places?" Kira nodded, though fear showed in her silver eyes. The next morning, they set out with 4 combat androids. They traveled for hours through dense purple forests until they reached a mountain ridge. Kira pointed to a valley below. There, the forbidden place of the Skyborn. Ethan used his binoculars to look. His heart beat faster at what he saw, the unmistakable outline of a human communications outpost. Unlike the ruined city he had found earlier, this structure seemed mostly intact. "We need to go there," he said. They descended carefully. The outpost had been built into the mountainside, designed to withstand time and weather. Ancient warning signs in faded English marked the entrance. The massive metal door was sealed shut, but Ethan found the security panel. "Ida, can you interface with this system?" he asked through his communicator. "Attempting connection," the AI replied. After a minute, there was a deep rumbling sound, and the door slowly opened. Ethan and Kira entered with the androids. Emergency lights flickered on, powered by old but still functioning generators. Dust covered everything, undisturbed for millennia. "What is this place?" Kira asked, her forearms wrapped around herself nervously. "A place where humans talk to the stars," Ethan explained simply. They reached the main control room. Ethan brushed dust from the central console. To his surprise, some systems still showed power. "Quantum communication array detected," reported Ida. "The system appears to be in standby mode." Ethan could hardly believe it. Quantum entanglement communicators were humanity's greatest achievement before the Solar War, able to send messages instantly across any distance. If this one still worked, "Can we activate it?" he asked. "Affirmative. The system requires authentication." Ethan placed his hand on the scanner and spoke his military ID. The screen lit up with the words, "Commander War IHE, identified. Well, so I'm to Innovatira relay station." "It still works," he whispered. Information began to flow across the screen. The communicator had been dormant for thousands of years, but its quantum link remained intact. Automated messages appeared. Humanity had not perished. After abandoning the solar system, they had established a new homeworld in the Andromeda galaxy. "They're still out there," Ethan said, his voice thick with emotion. Kira looked confused. "Your people live?" "Yes, far away, but alive." He pointed to a star map that appeared on screen. There, a message from 50,000 years ago explained that Novaterra had been abandoned during the evacuation due to its remote location. Only the military research facility had remained operational in standby mode, waiting. Ethan composed a simple message. "This is Commander Ethan Wright, military ID 37,291E. I have awakened on Novaterra after 50,000 years in stasis. Human military assets preserved. Local sentient species present. Requesting instructions." He sent the message knowing it would take years for a response to come. As they prepared to leave the outpost, Kira discovered a hidden room filled with ancient texts, human knowledge preserved in physical form. She had secretly learned to read some human writing, studying forbidden scrolls passed down through generations of Varine scholars. "My people kept these hidden from the Krell," she explained, showing Ethan a tattered book with English words. "They tell of the Skyborn promise to return someday." Outside, Ethan's android scouts reported movement in the distance. Krell ships were approaching, more than before. "They must have detected the power surge from the communication array," Ethan said. "We need to get back to the bunker now." As they hurried away, Ethan knew that everything had changed. Humanity still existed among distant stars. And now, the Krell knew he was not alone. Ethan stood in the vast underground chamber of the bunker. Thousands of androids stood in neat rows, powering up one by one. Their eyes glowed blue as they came online. The sight was both impressive and eerie. Current activation status: 73% complete, reported Ida. Estimated time to full deployment: 6 hours. Ethan nodded, then turned to Scout. "What types of units do we have?" Scout displayed a holographic breakdown: 5,000 standard combat units, 2,000 scout and reconnaissance models, 1,000 heavy assault units, 500 medical and repair units, 1,500 construction and engineering units. It was more than just a fighting force. It was an entire support network designed to maintain a colony. What about weapons? Ethan asked. The armory contains enough energy weapons, projectile rifles, and explosives to equip all combat-ready units, Scout replied. Most weapons are at 92% efficiency despite their age. Hira watched from a corner, her silver eyes wide with wonder. Several Vereen elders stood with her, including Mala. They had taken shelter in the bunker after Krull ships were spotted near their villages. The metal warriors wake to serve the Skyborn, Mala whispered, just as the old stories promised. Ethan approached them. These androids were built to protect humans, but they can protect your people too. The Krell won't stop until they've captured or killed me. I need to prepare. Ida's voice interrupted. Commander, I have completed restoration of the tactical database from the Solar War. Combat simulations and strategies are now available for review. Ethan walked to the main terminal and began studying the war records. The Solar War had been devastating. Billions dead, planets rendered uninhabitable. But humans had developed incredible tactics against technologically superior enemies. These lessons might help against the Krell. As he read, Ethan noticed something interesting. The androids weren't simple machines. They had been designed with learning systems that allowed them to adapt and improve. Some of the most successful units from the war had developed nearly human-like intuition. Ida, have the androids been maintaining their learning capabilities during stasis? He asked. Affirmative, Commander. The units have been processing tactical data and running simulations throughout their dormant period. They have achieved significant advancement beyond their original programming. This was unexpected but welcome news. His android army wasn't just preserved, it had been improving itself for millennia. A soft chime sounded. The main screen changed to show a Vereen scout running toward one of the hidden bunker entrances. Behind him, the sky was filled with Krull ships. They found us, Ethan said grimly. He turned to Scout. Activate defense protocols. Deploy scout units to monitor Krull movements. No engagement yet. Yes, Commander, the android replied. Ethan then addressed the Vereen. Your people need to stay hidden. The bunker has deep chambers that can shelter everyone from your villages. Mala stepped forward. We will not just hide while you fight for us. Some of us can fight too. Ethan considered this. The Vereen weren't warriors, but they knew the land better than anyone. Very well. Your people can help with intelligence and guidance, but direct combat against the Krell would be suicide. As they talked, a female voice spoke from a terminal that had been dark for days. The voice sounded more human, less mechanical than Ida. System restoration complete. Facility I Lily Adams online at 94% capacity. Ethan turned in surprise. Lily? I thought AIDA was the facility I. The voice answered. AIDA is the Defense Assistance Subsystem. I am the primary command I. My restoration has been ongoing since your awakening. Why am I just hearing from you now? Ethan asked. My core systems required extensive repair. I had to rebuild much of my own code. The voice paused. Commander Wright, there's something important you should know about the androids. What is it? They weren't just designed as soldiers or workers. Their learning systems were specifically created to preserve human knowledge and values if humanity faced extinction. They are the inheritors of our legacy. Ethan looked out over the thousands of androids standing at attention, ready for his orders. They weren't just his army. They were the last guardians of everything humanity had been. Outside, the first Krull bombs began to fall. The bunker shook as Krull bombs struck the mountain above. Dust fell from the ceiling. Warning lights flashed red. Direct hit to the upper levels, reported Lively. Outer defenses holding at 76%. Ethan studied the holographic map showing Krull positions. Their ships circled overhead like hungry predators. Ground troops approached from all directions. They want to destroy us before we can organize, Ethan said. But they don't know we're already prepared. He had spent the last 2 days moving most essential systems deeper into the mountain. The androids had worked tirelessly, following emergency protocols designed for exactly this situation. Commander, enemy forces are deploying ground units, Scout reported. Estimated 3,000 troops with heavy weapons. Ethan nodded. It's time. Execute Defense Plan Alpha. Across the valley, hidden android units activated their camouflage systems and moved into position. They hadn't waited passively for the Krell attack. While the aliens bombarded the obvious target, the bunker entrance, most of Ethan's forces had already spread out across the countryside. The first Krell ground troops reached the outer bunker doors. They placed explosive charges, confident in their superior firepower. The massive door blew inward with a thunderous boom. Krell soldiers rushed in, weapons ready. They found an empty entrance hall with a single android standing in the center. "Welcome to Novaterra," the android said calmly. Then it activated the trap. Hidden charges collapsed the entrance tunnel, hurrying dozens of Krell soldiers. At the same moment, android units emerged from hiding places all around the Krell landing zones. They attacked with perfect coordination, targeting commanders and communication equipment first. In the command center deep below, Ethan watched the battle unfold on multiple screens. The Krell fought with discipline and advanced weapons, but they were unprepared for the androids' adaptive tactics. "Their formations are breaking," Scout observed. They expected a direct confrontation, not guerrilla warfare. Kira stood beside Ethan, her silver eyes wide. "Your metal warriors fight like the wind, seen only when they strike." Ethan had studied the Krell during the past weeks. They were technology-dependent and followed rigid battle doctrines. His androids, by contrast, could adapt instantly, sharing information and changing tactics as needed. Krell reinforcements approaching from orbit, Lily warned. 5 large transport ships. "Time for Phase 2, Ethan said. He turned to Mala. "Are your people ready?" The Varine elder nodded. "All tribes have been notified. They wait for the signal." Ethan pressed a button on the command console. Across the continent, hidden transmitters activated. The signal reached Varine villages in remote valleys and forests. People who had lived under Krell oppression for generations now rose up, destroying mining equipment and blocking supply routes. It wasn't just a military battle, but a planet-wide rebellion. On the main battlefield, the Krell commander ordered his forces to regroup. He hadn't expected such resistance from what he'd dismissed as primitive technology. Now his troops were surrounded, fighting enemies they could barely see. "Defensive formation," he ordered. "Call in air support." But the Krell ships faced their own problems. Small android units had infiltrated their landing zones, attaching devices to their hulls. The devices weren't bombs, but hacking modules, tapping into the ship's systems. In the command center, Lily announced, "Connection established with Krell flagship. Accessing navigation systems." Ethan smiled. This had been the riskiest part of his plan, using ancient human hacking protocols against Krell technology. But Scout had analyzed their systems and found them surprisingly vulnerable. "Download all data from their main computer," Ethan ordered. "I want to know everything about the Krell, their homeworld, their fleet strength, their entire civilization." Hours later, as the battle raged across the valley, Ethan made a discovery that changed everything. The information from the Krell flagship revealed a stunning truth. "This isn't their main force," he told his officers. "These are just colonizers from a single outpost. The Krell homeworld is light years away and hasn't had contact with this group in centuries. The Krell they faced weren't an empire's army. They were isolated settlers who had turned to conquest and oppression without oversight from their home civilization." With this knowledge, Ethan formulated a bold new plan. 2 years passed. Ethan stood on a grassy hill overlooking the valley where the final battle with the Krell had taken place. Now the area was transformed. New buildings with a mix of human and Varine design stood where once there had been only ruins. "It's hard to believe how much has changed," said Kira, who stood beside him. She had become his closest friend and advisor among the Varine. After capturing the Krell command ship, Ethan had made a bold decision. Instead of destroying the remaining Krell forces, he had broadcast evidence of their leaders' atrocities to their homeworld using their own communication systems. The response had been unexpected but welcome. The Krell homeworld, a peaceful and advanced civilization, had been horrified by the actions of their lost colony. They immediately disavowed the colony leaders and sent representatives to negotiate peace. It turned out the colony had been considered lost centuries ago, and its descent into oppression had never been sanctioned. Now the remaining Krell lived in their own settlement on the southern continent. Many of the younger Krell had rejected their leaders' ways and sought to make amends with the Varine. "Commander, the new learning center is ready for inspection," said Scout, who had become Ethan's permanent companion. They walked together to a large building in the center of what was becoming a true city. Inside, young Varine sat with android teachers, learning about human history, science, and art. Some reformed Krell students had joined them, eager to gain knowledge. "The universal translator is working well," Ethan observed as he listened to a lesson being taught simultaneously in 3 languages. "Yes," Kira agreed. "The young ones learn fastest. Some can already read your old books without help." Ethan had established what he called the Novaterra Academy. Here, the android teachers shared human knowledge while learning from both Varine and Krell cultures. It was a place of exchange, not just education. As they toured the facility, Lily's voice came through Ethan's communicator. "Commander, I've detected a signal from the quantum communication array." Ethan's heart raced. "I'll be right there." In the communications center, rebuilt from the old outpost, the ancient quantum device hummed with energy. On the screen, a message appeared, the first response to Ethan's transmission from 2 years ago. "Commander Wright, your message received. Humanity lives. A fleet has been dispatched to Novaterra from the Andromeda colonies. Estimated arrival, 8 years. Stand by for further instructions. Admiral Garcia, United Human Fleet." Ethan read the message 3 times. Humanity was coming back. After 50,000 years, humans would return to this corner of the galaxy. That evening, Ethan called together the leaders of the Varine villages and a reformed Krell community. Under the light of Novaterra's twin moons, he shared the news. "My people are returning," he told them. "Not as conquerors, but as explorers seeking to reconnect with their past. We have 8 years to prepare for their arrival." Mala, now very old but still respected by all, spoke up. "The Skyborn return, as was prophesied. Will they accept what we have built here together?" Ethan looked out at the faces watching him. Blue-skinned Varine, scaled Krell, and his faithful androids. This unusual community had formed around him, united despite their differences. "They will," he promised, "because what we've built here is the best of what humanity always hoped to be, people of different kinds living and working together in peace." Later, as the celebration continued around him, Ethan walked to a quiet spot with Scout and Kira. Together they looked up at the stars. "Do you miss your own time?" Kira asked. Ethan thought about the war he had left behind, the desperate fight for survival that had defined his old life. "Sometimes," he admitted, "but I think I was always meant to be here. My stasis wasn't an accident. It was part of a plan to preserve what humanity could be at its best." Scout nodded. "The facility protocols were designed for this contingency. You were selected because your psychological profile showed the highest capacity for adaptation and leadership in isolation." Ethan smiled. For 50,000 years he had slept, only to awaken on an alien world with an army. Now that army had helped build not just a defensive force, but the beginning of a new civilization, one that carried the legacy of humanity forward while creating something entirely new. Above them, the stars shimmered with promise.